Hey guys, with everyone showing their vistas lately, I figured I'd show off mine. Especially now that it's been snowing, it looks really nice here on the 13th story. I better get it in now before the sun all melts it all away. Yesterday it was really slippery, and yeah, I will be missing this beautiful view for sure when I move. So you get a great view over Rotterdam from this side. And with New Year's Eve, this is just a great spot to be. And this is the front side, very nice also. And I'll be moving somewhere over there, but you can't really see it from here. But it's in that general direction. Anyway, that's not really what this video was about, so let's move on.
So what is this video about? Well, it's a response to markverger, who has tagged me in his latest video. And this time it is a 80s tag, so I get to talk about some of my favorite things about the 80s and my childhood, since I was born in 1983. So, since I was born in that period, I did miss some things since I was just too young for them. But yeah, there is still very much to choose from, since there's a lot of awesome stuff from the 80s. So let's just go to my favorite 80s movie first. Now, with movies, I went back and checked out a hell of a lot 80s movies. And this question is probably hardest for me to answer, since there are so many great movies in that period. Compared to now we just have crap most of the time. It's boring stuff, everything needs a good story and such. Back then it was just action and fun time at the cinema. So yeah, here are some of my favorite movies, since I just cannot point it to one in particular. So let's have a look. Of course, I could name some obvious ones like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, E.T., Gremlins, RoboCop and The Terminator, which are all some of my favorite movies ever, but I'd also like to name a few which I haven't heard named as much. For starters, Tim Burton's 80s movies were just awesome. Things like Batman and Beetlejuice, just fantastic. I also really like the Indiana Jones movies, fun, action-packed, and Die Hard is also an all-time favorite of mine if it comes to action movies. Disney also made some great stuff during that era, which I still very much enjoy today. Not only their animated movies, but also stuff like Tron or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which should be mentioned. It was also the time where they knew how to make spoofs and comedy. Stupid stuff like The Naked Gun, Airplane and even Spaceballs. Just hilarious. Anyway, I could go on and on about this. There's just too much to choose from. For my favorite right now, I'll have to go with either Star Trek II The Revenge of Khan or Aliens. Both are excellent sequels and right up there with Terminator 2 as best movie sequels ever in my opinion. The first Alien movie is amazing too though. See, there I go again. Alright, so next up we have my favorite 80s TV show. Now this one is also very hard for me, but with a whole other reason, since I just don't really know that many TV shows from the 80s. A few stick out, but yeah, for most of the big ones like Knight Rider and Airwolf and the A-Team, I was a bit too young and couldn't really get into it. Also there was the language barrier, since I couldn't read subtitles. But still, here are a couple that stand out for me as being the best from the 80s. So let's take a look. The Young Ones was a definite favorite of mine, just hilarious stuff. British humour is just great in general, and the BBC had many other fun shows like Blackadder and the Red Dwarf, which I really enjoyed. Also, does anyone remember Fraggle Rock? It's funny, as I know I really like to watch that, but I don't remember much specifics about it really. just that it was fun. I guess this one doesn't really come as a surprise, but just like Mark, I really enjoyed Star Trek The Next Generation. Would I have to pick out just one show right now, this would probably be it. Also, I can't help but name the Dutch kids show Telekids here. It was from the late 80s and lasted quite a while. I spent a lot of fun Saturday mornings watching it. Finally, I'm going to cheat a bit and name one that was actually from 1990, and that is Fort Boyard. Just an awesome game show that was intense and really fun to watch. And now for my favorite 80s cartoon, and this is another huge category with a lot of great stuff in it that is very hard to choose from. Just like with TV shows, I was a bit too young and had the language barrier thing, which caused me to kind of miss the boat on some popular ones like He-Man, Thundercats and Transformers, which I didn't really get into, and I was pretty much stuck with, for the most part, Dutch dubbing. And those weren't translated into Dutch, but a lot of others were, and you know, to be honest, back then they did a pretty decent job doing that too, compared to now, since if you put on the TV now and they dub everything and it is just horrible stuff. Of course the original content isn't too great to begin with, but yeah, back then they did a decent job. And here are some of my favorite cartoons from back then, and I wonder if some of you guys actually know these. For starters, I really like the Disney cartoons like Gummy Bears, DuckTales and the Rescue Rangers. Just fun, and they were very well translated into Dutch. Another cartoon I really liked was Teddy Ruxpin. It had a fun fantasy world, and another thing that I really liked about it was that it had a continuous story. One that actually is of Dutch make for a great deal and which I really enjoyed was Alfred Jodokus Kwak, or as it's called in English, Alfred Jonathan Quack. I think I still have most of the episodes on audio cassette. I was such a fanboy. This cartoon just struck a great balance between being serious and entertaining. Also, the music from Herman van Veen is just awesome. He's one of the few singers that I find myself singing along with whenever he's on. Two other cartoons which have Dutch and Belgian origins but were actually animated in Japan and which I both really enjoyed were Boos and Dommel. In English, these series are known as Oxtails and Wowzer, I believe. I'm not sure how well they are translated into English since they relied on a lot of pretty bad puns, but they were funny to watch and very random. Finally, one that always managed to cheer me up somehow is a cartoon called Ovid and Friends. It's just a fun one, and yeah, I also have some audio tapes of that one. Well, these were just a few of the lesser known cartoons that I really like to name and are some of my favorites for sure. But as with the movies and such, there are just too many to name. Alright, and now for my favorite 80s video game. Another great category with a lot of great stuff to choose from. Now, just like Mark, I had pretty much only the Commodore 64 and the Video Pack. And of those two, I just have to go with the Commodore 64 as the most fun. And yeah, here are some of my favorite games from that system. You know, this is kind of embarrassing. I've been thinking long and hard and I know some great games that I enjoyed and I can just picture them. The only problem? I forgot their name. I can't look them up either since most of my C64 stuff is packed away. Some of my favorite games on the Commodore 64 I do still remember the name of and which I enjoyed a lot are Rick Dangerous, Commando, Green Beret, Putty, Boulder Dash, River Raid and Spy Hunter. I'm probably leaving out a lot, but I just can't remember, sorry about that. Maybe someday I'll show off some C64 stuff too, that'll be fun. Alright, so and finally we have my favorite toy line of the 1980s. Well, I can be kind of short on this one since I just don't know what I played the most back then. Of course I had some Legos and some Transformers which I enjoyed playing with, but nothing really stood out to me as being a favorite of mine. Yeah, even back then I guess I much rather played my Commodore 64 and such. And those were kind of considered as toys, I guess, so just video games. Yeah, let's just be cheap with that one. Alright, so that was all of the questions. Now I get to tag 3 people, I believe. Well, let's see if I can come up with 3 people. First, let's just tag Matt Howlett. Yes, you may do a tag video for once, since you finally made a video with yourself speaking and such. So, yeah, have at it. Second one, I don't think you have done one yet. So, Tanuki KGA, you're tagged. And finally, I would like to tag Atarix777. I don't think he has done one yet either, so yeah. Those are the 3 I've tagged, but if you just feel like making a tag of yourself, you know, consider yourself tagged if you really like to make a tag video. Since, yeah, any response is just great, guys. So if you have a video response, put it down below, and I'll be very pleased to see what you come up with. Well, with that, I'd like to say take care and see you guys later. Bye!